debt's not a problem for anybody until it is a problem. And when it becomes a problem, then it's too late. Since the 70s, on average, 8 countries per year have had sovereign debt crises. And so when you look over the period of decades, the vast majority of workers in the world will be affected at some point in their working life by a debt crisis. And so really what we see all across the world is that the effects of excessive debt servicing and also then austerity means that the private sector is often invited in as a way to fill the gap, or there are forced privatizations, as Abdul mentioned, as part of the conditions of the loans. And in the healthcare system, that's a catastrophe. The private provision of healthcare is both less efficient, but also increases inequality. And so the social consequences of this are very, very high. Yeah, there will be debt crises from time to time. And when we allocate the burden, when we have to actually do the hard business of looking at a country and working out who suffers, there should be debt audits. We should be asking ourselves, who is responsible for the build-up of debt? It's corrupt politicians. It's business people who are extracting wealth, not creating it. It's tax avoiders. These are all the groups that have caused this debt. It's currency speculators. These are all the groups that have caused this debt build-up. They should be the people who are asked to shoulder the burden of the austerity, not the pensioners who've had nothing to do with the debt build-up, not the women and girls who rely on public services, not the workers who've been out there creating wealth. And so these debt audits are absolutely critical. And in terms of COVID in particular, what we've seen is from recent figures is that it's likely that 130 million people will be pushed towards starvation as a consequence of the sorts of trends that Christina outlined, and 500 million people pushed into poverty at exactly the same, from the economic consequences of COVID, at exactly the same time as the public services that are required to service these people are being undermined. Even in the face of the increased appreciation of public sector workers as a consequence of COVID. You see this clapping occurring in many countries. You see an increased understanding of the importance of public services. Simultaneously, we're seeing the beginning of a narrative that says we need austerity. We need to cut back on public spending. We need to undermine precisely the services that have been used to deal with COVID. If these public expenditures aren't being made for any of these reasons, then the chances of us meeting the Sustainable Development Goals, I think, are dramatically reduced.